Welcome, 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 welcome. I am Michelle L. Forbes, and yes, you are tuned into the Win Win Life talk show and podcast. Welcome. And how are you doing this afternoon? It's a pleasure to have you here. Just before you sit down and get all comfy, please go ahead and share this video, share this live broadcast, and go ahead and follow, go ahead and subscribe, and hit that bell while you're on YouTube so that every time we either go live or we upload a video, you are definitely one of those persons who will be notified. And if you are on Facebook, go ahead and follow and like. Follow and like. Thank you so much for joining and tuning with us today. Today we are here and we're just going to conversate. On the flyer, I would have said to you, let's conversate. At the start, here we are in in the month of January. That's my month of birth. In the month of January, in this brand new, fresh year of 2023, I saw it fit for us to just talk a bit as it pertains to where we're at now, where we're going, and what are some of the things that it will take for us to get there. All right, so if you had seen my flyer, would have asked some questions, some probing questions that would have had your mind, start thinking and, just wondering what to expect as we come together today. So some of the questions were, what is your word for this year, 2023? What is your plan? What are your goals? Where do you see yourself 1 year from this date? And today's date is January 8, 2023. What is the level of work you're committed to putting in order to see yourself 2024, January 8, the place that you right here from today, seeing yourself that you want to end up and be? So what's the level of work you are committed to, prepared to, sold out to, putting in order to see January 8th, 2024, that person, that individual that you have visioned and want to meet? What's the level of work that you're prepared to put in? Also, are there some hard decisions that you'll have to make this year? Are there some hard decisions that you'll have to make this year? Are you aware of those limitations you consciously put on yourself, subconsciously put on yourself? Are you aware of those limitations? So this afternoon, as we gather and as we talk, as we conversate, we want to just delve somewhat, because time does not permit for us to go deep, but we want to delve somewhat into looking at the answers for these questions, and I actually jotted down in preparation for this segment, I actually jotted down some more questions as to, getting the best out of our lives as we continue on being afforded this opportunity to live here on earth. So just before we jump into the mix of things, I'd like to share with you a promo of something that is currently available. Yep, you guessed it right. That is my first publication. I Am Loved and Affirmed Gratitude Journal. It's a 366 days of gratitude journal that will cover, whether it be this year or next year, which is a leap year, it will cover all the days within the year. So in as much as it may get within your hand as you purchase it, after January 1st, it's okay. You will roll back around, providing God tarries and providing life still prevails within your body. It will roll back around to that date when you'll be able to use your I Am Loved and Affirmed Gratitude Journal to the full. And indeed, it is a gift, a treasure from the heart of God and mine coupled together to you. It's now available on Amazon.com. If you're in the US region, or if you're in the Caribbean region or other regions that use the .com, if you're in Canada, like my location, it is .ca, amazon.ca. If you're in Australia, amazon.au. If you're in UK, amazon.uk. So whatever jurisdiction that you're in, you can definitely go ahead and pick up your gratitude journal now. I don't know if you know, but the gratitude is the most powerful emotion, and it is actually a master key that can unlock the door to more. As I touch on that, I recall the 10 leper. How many? 10. Lepers went to Jesus to be healed. All of them were given the instruction on what they needed to do to be healed. All went. All obediently took the instruction from Jesus and went to show themselves to the priest. All received their healing. One returned to say, thank you. And that one who returned to say, thank you, was the one. I am sharing this live just a bit on my timeline. That one who came back to say thank you was the one and only one that received wholeness. Leprosy is a disease that eats away at the body. So whereas you may have started out with 5 fingers, as it eats away, you may end up with just 3 fingers. That one leper, showing you the power of gratitude, yeah? That one leper that came back to say thank you was made whole. So whereas 2 fingers may have been eaten off, or 3, or just 1 left, by the time he left Jesus' presence, there were 5 fingers, because he was made whole. And that was what Jesus said to him. So the others, yeah, they were healed, but they still bore evidence that I once had leprosy. That one that returned bore no evidence that he ever had leprosy. The power of gratitude. The power of gratitude. And another thing just popped in my head, how Jesus, when it was time for him to feed the 5,000 plus men, plus the wives and the children, his simple prayer was, as he lifted the bread and the fishes to God, his simple prayer was, thank you. Do not underestimate the power of gratitude. I have proven it personally in my life. I have seen it in scripture, and I have seen it in the lives of others, those who God has caused to cross my path, or God have caused me to be in covenant relationship with. I've seen it in operation, experience it in operation. So, in case you haven't, or is this the first time you're hearing that it's out? Yep, it's now available. So to this afternoon, the first question on the flyer says, and ask you, what is your word for 2022? What's your word for 2022? My word for 2022 is equanimity. Equanimity. And just so that I don't butcher it, I'll give you it straight from the dictionary at dictionary.com. Equanimity is mental or emotional stability or composure, especially under tension or strain, calmness, and equilibrium. Two synonyms that could be used to replace equanimity: calmness or equilibrium. I remember that word from my high school days of doing physics. Mental or emotional stability, repetition for emphasis, or composure, especially under tension or strain. Calmness, equilibrium. That's equanimity. Now, in as much as their plans are in place, vision is clear, mission is on track, and you have your goals and you have your plan, life happens. And when life happens, it is so important that we remain in a place and in a state where we can still think logically, we can still hear clearly, we can still see and discern with precision the next step, the next move, the decision to be made. If we're not, whatever life would have brought our way would be so much more magnified if we're not in that place of calmness, in that place of equilibrium, if we're not in equanimity. And so I share with you, that's my word for 2023. And for you, what is your word? What is your word for 2023? And if you don't yet have a word, can I invite you to join us and set a word over your life for 2023? Maybe something that you have just been battling with it for some time now, and you just can't seem to shake it. For me, for 2020, my word was clarity. Like, I just needed to be clear on exactly what God is saying to me. What is he calling me to do? Where he's calling me to? With whom he's calling me to? I just needed clarity. So every time I speak, I would just be speaking God clarity. And it would come out in conversations that I would hold. It would come out in my time with him. It would come out in my mind as I think. Clarity. By the closing of that year, I was so much more clearer than I was when I started. 2021, it was focus. I just needed, so I had some clarity. No, I just needed to focus. 2022 was consistency. And that one is still a work in progress, but I'm certainly not where I started out at the start of 2022. Yeah. Yep. That's a ongoing, a consistent, ongoing building of that muscle called consistency in my life. And so for this year, I felt the need and the being led by Holy Spirit that this word equanimity is to be my word. So again, I ask just before we move on, what is your word for 2023? And if you are tuning in with us live, go ahead and type it. If you don't yet have it, say, I'm working on it, Michelle. I'm working on it. Go ahead and comment and put it in the bar. I'm working on it for 2023. I'm working on it. And if you listen to this broadcast afterwards, the replay, go ahead and type it in. What's your word for 2023? One of the other questions that I asked on the flyer was, what is your plan for the year? And your plan would have to come from a goal. Your goal would have had to come from a vision, and the vision usually also walk hand in hand with the mission. What is your plan? And please don't say it is here. Don't say that it's here. Yeah, man, I have my plan, man. Michelle, I have it, man. Needs to be written. Needs to be written. God said, write the vision and make it plain, not think the vision. Write the vision. After thinking, yes, you have to think it up. After thinking, you have to write. Write and make it plain. And I believe you would have heard it before. I would have heard it several times where it says, if we don't plan, we automatically plan to fail. If we don't plan, we plan to fail. Pretty certain. The chair you're sitting on, sofa, bench, a plan had to be put in place in order for it to be manifested now that you're using it. The very device that you are using to see me, a plan was executed in order to bring it to manifestation. Don't underestimate your plan. Get your ducks, line up your ducks in a row. Your mission, your vision, your goal, your plan. If you don't have a mission, vision, okay, at least a goal. Okay, what am I working towards? What am I working towards? Each and every time we leave our homes, we have a goal, a set place that we are working towards arriving at. It's the same thing it ought to be for our lives and the quality of the life that we want to live. So I invite you, another invitation. Come on board. Set your goal. Get your plan mapped out according to attaining that goal or goals. I would say, especially if it's new for you, work with 3. 1 to 3, no more than 3. Unless you feel, I got this covered, Michelle, I can do it. But I would suggest work with 1 to 3 that you want to work at and bring about within your life. The next question was, what are your goals? And I already covered it. Another question on our flyer was, where do you see yourself 1 year from this date? So January 2024, the 8th day. Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? I want us to pause just right there and visualize that it is next year, like right now is next year, January 8th, 2024. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? With whom am I doing it with? Right here. And as I allow you that to marinate within you, we're going to pause for a cause. Tune in as we do. Thank you very much for tuning in. Yep. 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 So as we paused to go to that promotion just now, the question was, where do you see yourself 1 year from today? And as I challenge you to get quiet and visualize that, see it right here, right now. Today is January 8th, 2024. Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? With whom do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing? And just go on and on and on and shape out the answers to each of those questions. Shape them out, carve them out until it becomes very clear. When it becomes very clear, you grab a hold of that. Picture that video played as a video within your mind. And you save it. You know, like when we work on the computer, we save it because when you go back, you don't want to start from scratch. Like it makes no sense, right? To go back on the computer and start from scratch, working on a project that you've been working on. You save it so that when you return, you can pick up from where you left off. So in starting that today, more than likely, you're not going to be able to finish it unless you have the time to just say, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and complete this. Answering all those different questions, probing questions. After you finish, you save it. If not, you still save it because you want to, when you return, pick up from where you left off. And writing, powerful. So you could write it down too. What you would have played already, formed already, shaped out already, as it pertains to you 1 year from today. One of the other questions that I asked on our flyer was, what is the level of work that you are prepared and committed to putting in? Because it's one thing to set the goal. It's one thing to write out the plan. But it's another thing, 1, 2, 3, to put in the work and get it done. I made reference to the chair that you're sitting on, the very device that we have right now, the very buildings that we are in right now. If the goal was set and the plan was laid out, but the work required to bring it to manifestation was never put in, it would have just been, it was a good goal. And it was a smashing plan. But what became of it? Like, seriously, what became of it? It's like it just became a fleeting thought. So you have to make up in your mind, decide what level of work that you're prepared to put in. And as you make up in your mind on that level of work that you're prepared to put in, settle it here. Once and for all, settle it here. Settle it here that this is what I'm going after concerning my goal. This is what I will have to put in terms of the plan to get it done. And I'm going to do it. Marry those three. Wrap them together like a three-folded cord. Your goal, your plan, and your decision that I am going to get it done. That level of commitment where you and excuses and procrastination and fear and all the other yada, 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 yada are enemies. You hold and you lock onto. I am committed to putting in the work to getting the job of refining, redefining, refining my life so that it can be the image of God for real, so that it can be in the likeness of God for real. And it's totally doable. Is it going to take some work? Absolutely, yes. But it's so worth it. It's also worth it. Another question on the flyer was, are there some hard decisions that you'll have to make this year? Yes, and absolutely yes. And echoed yes continually. Yes, there is. There are some hard decisions that would have to be made. And that goes hand in hand, yeah, with what is the level of work that you're committed to doing. Because in executing that level of work, some hard decisions are in the mix. And you're going to have to decide whether you're going to play footsie with making those decisions, or you're just going to firm up and say, okay, this is what has to be done. This is what I have to do. This is what I will do. Period. It will be pertaining to you and some attitudes, some tendencies, some habits, some thoughts and mindsets. And it will also be tuned. It will also be tuned to some people. Family, you had no choice. I had no choice. We had no choice. The family in which we found ourselves. But if it's causing a friction with where and how you see God is leading you, it may be best that you either one, love and relate from a distance, and at the same time, I was going to say either one of two, but I would say coupled with asking God for the wisdom on how to go about engaging in this relationship and continuing on in the relationship. But it's totally doable. So are there some decisions that you're going to have to make? Some hard decisions? Yes. I can tell you because I've walked that road. But it's worth it and it's rewarding. While going through it and doing it and making that decisions, it doesn't see that way, doesn't seem that way, and it doesn't feel that way. But it's worth it. And on the other end of the decision, you'll see and you'll know. Absolutely. Are you aware of those limitations and subconsciously, those limitations you subconsciously put on yourself? Are you aware of those limitations that you subconsciously put on yourself? With that question, we're going to break. Have a brief break. Thank you. And I trust that you have saved that date already, right? Yeah. So if you're a male and you're watching, no excuse. I'm pretty certain that you know some women, have some women in your life, either directly or indirectly. Go ahead and tell them about what's coming up on International Women's Day, March 8th, 2023. Whoa, man, woman on mandate. So just before we broke for our promotion, the question that I shared with you was, are you aware of those limitations you subconsciously put on yourself? Are you aware? I wasn't aware until after God brought them, like plain laid out on the table before me. And after that was laid out, I was like, yes. It's kind of like the light is shed on the darkness that was being hidden. And like there's nowhere that you can dodge out of the light. It's just way more bright and direct upon you than you can. You just have to be still and just say, yes, it's true, God. Yes, I've been having that and that and that and that, the fear, the procrastination, the low self-esteem, the self-doubt, the lack of self-worth, the lack of self-value. Yes, God, all of them subconsciously. All of those limitations were playing over and over. There's a statement that I shared with my husband recently from one of the mentors which I follow, and that is, Our minds are constantly, just give me one moment. Our minds are constantly eavesdropping on what we say to ourselves, our inner thoughts. No one hears. Our minds are consciously eavesdropping on us. So, are you aware of those limitations you subconsciously house and put on yourself? If you are, what are they? If you're not, it's time for you to get quiet and inquire of God and get quiet and remain quiet and continue going through that process and applying the word in terms of meditating, and it will come up one by one by one by one by one. They will begin to come up. They'll begin to come up. They'll begin to come up, because that word I just told you about, meditating the word, it will begin to shine the light on the dark spots, those limitations that's within your life. So get quiet, meditate, and you will find that it will begin to work some wonders for you. Another question that came to my mind as I was preparing, which is to ask you, is who are you listening to? Whose tune are you dancing to? Who are you listening to? Whose tune are you dancing to? And what you're listening to from who? Is it in line with what God has for your life? If it's not, God is the one that you're listening to, but somebody else. What they are saying, what that person is saying, is it in line with what God has for your life? No, more than likely, it's good. It's wonderful. But is it for you? And then another thing that you have to question as well, is it for you at this time? Yeah. Who are you listening to? And whose tune are you dancing to? Some key questions. Now, why I'm posing these questions? Because I'm pretty certain that your heart, your mind, your whole being have no desire for this 2023, another year, to just roll by and turn out just like all the others. No, that's not your desire, right? And that's not my desire for you. Yes? Not at all. Not at all. So whose tune are you dancing to? And who are you listening to? Who is speaking in your ears? As we're bringing it to a close, and I want to bring and sum everything together, I want to ask you another question. What is the pace that you're moving at? I learned a couple of years ago that one of the telltale signs that the enemy is trying to move in with something in your life is just this speed, like you gotta go do, you gotta. Learn to pause and get quiet and listen and find out if this is God, and two, what exactly is he saying to you? So whose pace are you moving at? And at times, the rush may come from your own thought because it feels like I've wasted so much time. Or it may be external. Whichever it is, hit the pause, get quiet, and inquire of God. Is this Him? What exactly is He saying to you? So I alluded to a statement that I told you guys I shared with my husband recently from one of the mentors of mine, Jim Quick. Our subconscious is constantly, our mind is constantly listening, eavesdropping on what we are saying to ourselves. And so my question to you is, what are you saying to you? If you stop just for 1 minute and just replay, just today alone, what have you said in your mind? What have you played within your mind about you? How you feel about you, what you think about you. And then let's expand it a bit for the past week that we just closed. What have you been saying about yourself? Your mind is eavesdropping, listening to what you're saying about yourself. Another wisdom nugget that goes with that, as I learned from Jim, and our subconscious quickly believes it. Your subconscious mind believes what you say about you. So if you say, I'm shy, I'm not good with names, your mind believes it. And it latches onto that and make that a reality for you. And so year after year, you find yourself being shy. You find yourself not being good with names. That will begin to change when you make the shift as you speak. I'm bold. I'm confident. I'm great with names. And you continue to rehearse that. You will begin to reprogram what you served your subconscious mind before, as it was eavesdropping on you. All these questions that are being asked is to help to position you to what your year, the span of it, how it will play out, and what next year, January 8th, 2024, will look like for you. A powerful tool to help you to shape that year and to put January 8th, 2022 in the place that you desire for it to be. I'm going to share with you right now. Right. One of the other things that I want to share with you as we bring this curtain down is, how do I say it? Keep putting one foot in front of the other. What you will find is there may be times when you make mistakes, you make errors, like our show today is one where I'm to be pressing one thing, then I press another. I'm to be ending this, instead I go and I start it again. Learn to give yourself grace. And as you learn to give yourself grace, what you will experience is it opens up the growth journey for you. Because the moment you begin to come down on yourself, it's like you pressed the wrong thing. You should have pressed this. You shouldn't have played the second time. The moment you begin to do that, it kind of puts you in this lockdown mode. Instead of, okay, I did that. And look at that and take that as an opportunity for you to learn. Okay. All right. So next time I'll do it this way instead of that way. I'll lay them out this way instead of that way. I'll do this instead of that. Or I'll not do this, but do that. But when we extend that grace to ourselves, what that sets us up for is continuous growth, continual growing. That's how I want to wrap things up for us today. That as we lay out those questions and as we add more questions to those questions, because questions are powerful when you ask the right ones. Powerful when you ensure you answer them. So what I would have shared with you, let that be a teaser to you. Being intentional about just taking some time for yourself, asking yourself some additional probing questions, and requiring yourself to answer them. And then move on forward from there. When you make such a move, it was movements forward from there, not backward. As you do, yes, you're going to have some times when you fail. Yes, you're going to have some times when it didn't quite pan out how you planned it. Extend grace to yourself. Be grateful. Take that moment, stop, and just begin to express thanksgiving. Thanksgiving for that particular thing at that time that happened, because it presented to you an opportunity to grow and to learn something. And thankful for the journey that you have took to this point to which you made an error. You made a wrong decision. You responded wrongly. Be thankful, be graceful, and extend grace to yourself. Love on you. You know, at times we tend to give out to others, especially as females, as mom. We tend to be giving out a lot to others, quickly give to others than we would to ourselves. That grace, that love, it's time for you to give to you. It's time to prioritize on you. It's time to take your life seriously. It's time to take you seriously. And don't let you off the hook. No. Enough of that, yeah? Don't you think? Yeah, I think. Enough of that. So today was quite a somber session for us today, where we just wanted to have a conversation, and the conversation that will lead to a more fruitful and productive and rewarding life as you journey through 2023 and come to January 8th, 2024, next year. But seeing it as right here and right now. Yes? It's been my pleasing, boundless pleasure in being here with you today. And just before I go, I want to share with you again our 2 promos. So until we meet and see each other again next week, same time, same place. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Have a smashing 2023. God bless you. You are loved and affirmed, and I love you. Stay tuned. Next week when you come, bring a friend. Yes? God bless you. Au revoir. And we'll try that again.